off the top, hypothetical. I'm an unemployed, underemployed person living in the Quad Cities, uninsured. I've also am still undecided about the election. Why do I vote for you? How quickly can you make a change, and what would that change be?
I think people who are underemployed or unemployed know that the policies that President Obama put in place haven't helped them. They've seen massive borrowing, a government that's grown larger and larger, all sorts of promises, but it hasn't worked for them. And I think those people recognize that it's time to have someone who understands how the economy works, what it takes to create jobs, how to build more jobs in America. There are 5 things I'd do. Take advantage of energy, number 1. Number 2, get better schools and training programs. Number 3, open up more trade for American goods and crack down on China when they cheat. Number 4, balance our federal budget. And number 5, help small business. Small business is in trouble. I want to get small business growing again.
You've talked about balancing the budget. You've talked about the deficit growing under President Obama, but you've also talked about lowering taxes. How do you reconcile the 3 of those to kind of make all 3 things happen?
Well, there are a lot of ways to balance a budget, but the most effective way is to get more growth in the economy, more people working, rising take-home pay. That happens and people are paying more taxes, the government does better. And so one thing I'm doing is creating pro-growth strategies like keeping our taxes moderate, particularly in small businesses so they can hire more people. At the same time, I'm cutting back on the spending of the federal government. Those 2 things, encouraging growth and cutting back on spending, get us to a balanced budget within 8 to 10 years.
You've had a little time now with Congressman Ryan on the ticket. He obviously has a budget plan that he thinks is effective. You have your own. How do you reconcile the 2? What are the differences? What are the similarities? You've had about 2 weeks now to review those.
Well, Congressman Ryan and I have spent a lot of time together. We did actually before he became my vice presidential nominee. We're on the same page when it comes to recognizing the need to stop spending more money than we take in. One of the things that I do in my budget is I make sure that the $716 billion the president took out of Medicare gets put back. And so Paul Ryan and I are running as one team, one ticket, and my budget is the budget we're running on.
Obviously, here in the Midwest, we've been hit hard by the drought of 2012. Republican Congressman Bobby Schilling feverishly pushing a 5-year farm bill. Your stance on that, does Congress need to get that done immediately, or do you want to see changes made to the proposal as it stands right now?
Well, we need a farm bill, of course. We recognize that we don't want to have farmers losing their ability to provide the food that America needs. We don't want to find ourselves in the same circumstance in agriculture that we are in energy, where we have to rely on other countries. And people who are hurting, who are in risk of losing their business are going to need help to get back on their feet.
This is your 5th time here in Iowa. You've been in the Quad Cities twice in the last 2 or 3 months, whatever it's been now. President Obama just here last week. How important is winning Iowa to you winning the White House?
You know, Iowa could well be the state that decides who the next president's going to be. And Iowa's going to have to decide, do we want a nation that becomes more and more like Europe with a larger and larger and more intrusive government? That's where President Obama's taking us. Or do we want an America that's more and more like America, if you will, that relies on individual initiative, on hard work of people who build enterprises and hire other folks, of hardworking people in factories that do a better and better job, great farmers that are building good opportunities for their families. It's a real question of what kind of America we're going to have. A government-driven America or an America driven by free people who are seeking opportunity for themselves and for their children.
Here in the Quad Cities, we see a lot of campaign ads these days. Washington Post saying 3/4 of the campaign ads so far have been negative ones. Both you and the president have talked about elevating the debate. Should we look forward to seeing more negative ads going forward? Do you know how that's going to play out as we get to November?
You know, I think the president's ads have almost all been negative ads, and they're personal character assassination ads. They don't attack me on policy, they attack me as a person. I think he's taken a presidential campaign to a very low level, and I think it really diminishes the White House. The ads that we'll run will continue to focus on our differences on policy. We'll keep battling over our policy differences. I think that's appropriate. But the personal, vindictive, divisive kind of ads we've seen from the Obama camp, I think are